Let's just jump right into it. In 1998, scientists monitoring the deep ocean detected an anomaly. What we're doing today is a full explainer, an unvarnished look at the raw data surrounding a sound unlike anything ever recorded in human history. A sound that echoed through the dark, crushing depths. So set the scene with me. The Pacific Ocean, 1998. Beneath the waves lies a world totally alien to us. It's pitch black, freezing, and just unimaginably vast. And this is exactly where an anomaly of massive proportions was quietly registered by deep-sea instruments. According to classified reports from the time, there were two absolutely terrifying details about this anomaly. First, the acoustic return was literally louder than underwater earthquakes. And second, it was moving. Just let the impossible reality of that situation sink in for a second. Part 1. The detection. Okay, so NOAA has this underwater acoustic array. It was actually originally designed as a military tool to detect illegal submarine activity, right? So it consists of thousands of highly sensitive microphones resting way down in the freezing darkness of the Pacific Ocean floor. Well, on June 17th, these sensors caught something entirely unexpected. They registered an enormous low-frequency sound that lasted exactly 76 seconds. Because of the distinct profile of the audio wave, analysts gave it the seemingly harmless, kind of comical nickname, the Bloop. Immediately, there was a massive conflict between public relations and actual acoustic science. At first, the public was fed a pretty standard line. They were told this was simply the sound of shifting, cracking ice. But acoustic experts studying the raw data, they completely dismissed that hypothesis right out of the gate. The wave pattern wasn't geological. The sounds pattern was undeniably biological. It was alive. Part 2. An impossible biological scale. Once marine biologists accepted that the sound was biological, they really had to confront the terrifying math behind the acoustic power required to actually generate it. The disturbing conclusion drawn by researchers studying the recording was that the source of the sound had to be absolutely enormous, far larger than any known animal on Earth. Estimates calculated that whatever made the sound had to be over 900 feet long. To put that into perspective, a blue whale, the largest known animal on the planet, averages around 100 feet. This entity would be larger than most modern ships. You know, humanity really has a tendency to use scientific coping mechanisms, like that shifting ice theory, to just ignore the horrifying implications of what might actually be lurking down there in the deep ocean. But wait, it gets so much worse. The anomaly wasn't stationary. 3 weeks after the initial June 17th detection, the exact same sound signature appeared again over 1,200 miles away. No known marine life can travel that distance at that depth in such a short amount of time. The sheer speed was so alarming that military analysts became quietly involved, and several classified submarines reportedly altered their patrol routes in direct response. Part 3. Encounters in the dark. As military vessels steered clear, civilians were left completely in the dark. On August 4th, a Japanese fishing vessel known as the Kaide Maru transmitted a frantic distress signal. Recovered radio audio reveals a terrified captain, reporting that something massive was following them below the waterline. The crew reported metallic impacts against the hull, water alarms, screaming, and then, this final transmission. It's bigger than the boat. Contact was lost. When search teams finally found the vessel drifting empty in the Pacific, there were no lifeboats used and no crew. Just massive, 14-foot scratches covering the entire underside of the ship's hull. Months later, an anonymous NOAA employee literally risked everything to leak the enhanced audio of the original signal online. Audio analysts scrubbed the file and discovered hidden frequencies buried inside the static. They found rhythmic, repeating pulses, almost like a form of communication. But the absolute most chilling discovery came when an analyst slowed the recording down by 800%. The background noise dropped away and what remained sounded disturbingly human. It sounded like massive, slow breathing. Part 4. The Doom 2001 Expedition. In 2001, a private deep-sea exploration team launched an expedition directly to the signal's origin point, descending nearly 5,000 meters into the abyss. At that depth, the crew's sonar detected movement. Something massive, much, much larger than their submersible, positioned itself directly beneath them. For 11 excruciating minutes, it didn't attack. It just shadowed them, followed them. Then, all external lights on the sub mysteriously failed. In the pitch black, the audio logs captured one diver whispering, "There's something outside," and another frantically replying, "Don't turn the lights back on." 6 hours later, the sub resurfaced. The hatch was perfectly sealed, but the inside was completely empty. Part 5. The deep trench theory. So, you have to ask, how does an entity of this magnitude remain undetected by modern science? Well, conspiracy forums eventually uncovered leaked military maps that pointed to a pretty chilling answer: unacknowledged deep trenches, far deeper than public ocean charts show. Some researchers propose that an organism this incredibly ancient, perhaps predating human civilization entirely, could exist down there. It remains unseen simply because humans are completely incapable of surviving the depths it calls home, and perhaps it just prefers the dark. And these aren't just isolated historical events either. Even today, cargo ships crossing certain regions of the Pacific report massive, unidentifiable shadows moving beneath their vessels. Divers experience unexplained equipment failures immediately after hearing low-frequency rumbles. And almost every single survivor testimony from these encounters shares one identical, purely psychological detail. It's not just panic, but the overwhelming certainty that whatever's down there is acutely aware that they exist. Part 6. The Final Fire. Okay, let's dive into the climax here. In 2023, a deleted research archive briefly surfaced online before being aggressively scrubbed from the internet. It contained a single highly classified sonar image. In that dark sonar grid, an enormous shape was captured beneath the scanning vessel. The visible portion of this entity alone, just the part the sonar could actually reflect off of, measured a staggering 1,500 feet. But the true horror wasn't just the sheer size of the shape. Before the file vanished, users managed to read a stark, clinical note attached to the very bottom of the sonar data. 2 words that change absolutely everything we know about this phenomenon. Still ascending. You know, we look up at the stars, yet humanity explores less of our own ocean than we do the surface of the moon. Fully 80% of the deep ocean remains completely, terrifyingly unknown to us. It's a giant, pitch-black abyss right here on Earth. So, what does this all mean? Maybe it was just shifting ice, maybe it's a completely undiscovered species, or maybe, down in the crushing dark, humanity heard the echoes of something incredibly ancient. The original Bloop recording is completely unclassified. It is publicly available right now if you have the nerve to listen to it. But the question you really have to ask yourself isn't just what made the sound. The real question is, what happens when it finally reaches the surface?